Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all are having a beautiful day today. Today, welcome to every person is a story, and at the interview, another beautiful person with me. Today, the person I'm sitting with, I think he is the person who inspired me to join politics. He's the person who inspired me to do what I'm doing right now. So I will introduce you all to Councillor Charles. How are you, sir?
Very well, Summer. Yes, good, and I'm glad to be able to sit down with you for a short time and discuss a few interesting questions that you may.
Thank you so much for giving me and my viewers your precious time. So I'll just start off with, how was your childhood?
Well, I grew up in a fairly stable childhood in the United States, in Columbus, Ohio. I was one of four siblings, right? Two girls, two boys, nice balance, two older sisters, younger boys, and there was a fair distance between us, actually. So they were sort of like older
Than you.
Yeah, much older than me.
So you were born in America.
Yes.
So how old were you when you came to Australia?
I was only 19.
Same as me. So we kind of share pretty much same life story.
Yeah.
So you came to Australia when you were 19. So which year was it?
19. Well, this is going to give my age away now. 1973.
1973.
June 73.
So it's such a long time. When you came to Australia, what was the difference in American lifestyle and Australian lifestyle?
Well, that's a good question. For all intents and purposes, there certainly was a difference, right? But a lot of the lifestyle here in Australia was mirrored somewhat in the United States, because I suppose we were, Australia that is, was very much influenced by World War II, and there's a lot of American servicemen that actually came through Australia, R&R, recreational leave, and so a lot of Australians picked up a lot of those customs and foods and all sorts of things, So when I came, the takeaway was not much different, We had the KFC, and back then we had KFC, and we had fish and chip national food chain that was here as well, called Arthur Treacher's, which was really English, but it was very much prevalent in the United States. And all the burger bars, the milkshake bars and all the rest of it sort of mirrored that, but I mean the customers were different, right? I mean the accent was definitely different.
Yeah, of course.
But really it was a very much a nuclear family type of society back in '73. Both countries went through Vietnam, had service in Vietnam, so there was a lot of shared experiences. So I didn't find it all, and of course they spoke English.
Yeah, I've seen like a bit of a difference in American English and Aussie accent, like pure Aussie slang. So when you came, was it hard to understand? Because I know it takes a lot of understanding to understand Aussie slang. So was it easier or harder?
Well, no, I had a bit of a head start. Because when I decided to come to Australia, to immigrate to Australia with a friend of mine that I grew up with, my 12th year in high school, right, or my 12th year of school, I got to know a girl who was doing her 12th year that was from Coorparoo. She was a product of an American father and an Australian mother, right? Okay, and so for 12 months, we were in the same classes. We worked at a cinema together as well. I picked up all that accent stuff.
From the girl,
from her. So when I arrived here, my ear was pretty tuned as to what it meant, right, and the differences, because some words are a little bit different, mean different things.
So you already knew that.
The guy who sponsored me to come here was an Australian long distance, so I knew Bill Emerton for like 2 or 3 years. So he had an accent. He was from Tasmania, a bit of a different accent, and different sort of slang words from there as well.
So if you were in America, would you still join the politics in America, or?
That's a good question. I often thought of that, and probably yes, because I don't know why, I just feel that way. Because I worked 2 elections when I was over there. When I was 8, because you can vote at 18, of course. So I worked a state election and the '72 federal election over there, and so I had some understanding as to what we were voting on and policies and all that sort of stuff. Because when I say I worked in a polling booth, but over there polling booths are worked by either Democrats or Republicans, right? Here they're not. I mean, if you work in a polling booth here inside, okay, but over there it's different, and so I had some understanding of what things were even at that age.
That's amazing. In your politics to Australia, have you ever had a bad experience, or where you have learned from it?
Yeah. Well, as far as politics in Australia, whether you're conservative or not, whether you're Labor or Liberal, the biggest wake up and the biggest disappointment, of course, was when you lose an election. Your party loses an election, and you learn things from that. right? You learn, and there's no shortage of people wanting to commentate on that,
Of
you know,
course,
on
yeah.
especially the losing party.
Yeah.
But I've never really had a devastating. I suppose the closest we got to that is when I was working for a state member, the opposition leader at the time, Anastasia Palaszczuk, and when it was actually Anna Bligh who was the premier at the time in 2012, and Labour had been in for many years, right? And we lost to the Liberal Party, and we lost a lot of seats. We were down to almost a very few seats right across the state, and that was quite devastating,
Yeah.
right? Because I was working in a state member's office at the time, so and that was very challenging, right, for those next 3 years until we wrestled back the government. Yeah. So that was quite a devastating thing for me. That's as close as I can. But I joined the Labour Party in 1998.
1998.
Yeah.
So it's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, and sort of have enjoyed the friendships that you make in politics. And
so, Councillor, what thing inspired you to join the politics?
Yeah, someone asked me.
Someone asked you to join the politics?
I was a member of a services club, and one of the gentlemen who used to live up in Mullaney moved to Forest Lake, and consequently he was ringing around some of those members of the services club that he knew, right, and I was one of them, and says, I'm putting together a branch. A Labour Party branch. And so he says, would you like to come along and see what it's all about? The rest is history.
Amazing. So this is why they say if you listen to the right advice, it can be life-changing for you.
Yes.
So you listen to him and you are a councillor now. So it really changed your life.
Well, it was a process, and not everyone follows the same process. I joined the party, and then in 2001 I came to work for a state member in their office, in their electorate office, and then I did that for 15 years. And then when the opportunity opened up to nominate for a councillor position in where I was living, right, I took that opportunity and won the pre-selection and then won the election. So I'm just entering my third term.
So we talked about the bad experience, but what was the good experience you have?
I suppose the good experience for anyone joining any particular party or organization is the people, and the people are the ones that give you those experiences. So I sat down with, and this is my one claim to fame, I sat down with Gough and Margaret Whitlam at a function for about 15-20 minutes before we were led into the venue, and I was one of about 3 or 4 that were in this little round table, and there they were. This is like a big thing because Gough Whitlam was a huge icon in the Labour Party, you know, and before I even came to Australia, you know, and to be able to sit down, and he's the reason why I was in Australia as well, because his policy, migration policy into the United States and Europe and all the rest of it, his policy actually was the reason I was able to immigrate to Australia.
So we could say he was the person who guided you towards the right path.
Well, not him personally, but his policy did. And so I was able to sit down with him and his wife in those 15-20 minutes and thank him for doing that.
Yeah.
Because that was something like about 10 years, maybe about 10 years after I came, right? So it was still very fresh in my mind, you know.
And I can see you are still emotionally connected.
Yeah,
to
because
it's a huge respect.
It is.
So, Councillor, are you satisfied with the achievements you have achieved in your life, or is there anything else you still want to achieve?
Oh gosh, I don't think any of us can actually say that we've achieved everything that we would like to achieve. That would be great if you could do that. You know, you'd have to live a long time.
Yeah, of course.
Much longer. But I think I've never really been one of those people that have had goals as such, right? I look for opportunity, and then if that opportunities are something I want to do, right, then I make that decision then and there. To try to plan, one thing about planning your life is it's a plan, but no one ever follows their plan, right? Because I suppose it's nice to maybe have some idea of where you'd like to go in life, whether you'd like to, have a family with 3 or 4 kids and have a job that it's very satisfying and something that you really, really want to do. But sometimes those opportunities don't come along, right? So you've got to change your plan, right? But
you've got to work towards it.
Well, you've got to work, and I often said to people, because I ran retail stores for many years, right? So I would say to my young employees, and boys or girls for that matter, I'd say, listen, if you, in Australia, you have that opportunity, if you can work really hard for 20 years solid in whatever you want to do, and really, and save and invest, and, for about 20 years, you will set yourself up for life.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I've seen people working 15, 20, 25 years, and after that they retire happily and they're living. Because in Australia, we've got all the opportunities we need, so everyone can get any opportunity they deserve for.
But it's really about having a go.
Yeah.
It's an Australian expression, right?
At least you try for it. You
yeah,
can't get anything unless you try
Oh
for it.
no, you've got to work hard, take the advice where you can get the advice, and be willing to try things.
Yes.
Right? Be willing to take those opportunities within a business. You know, when the boss asks you to go do something, right? I always said yes. They could always count on me saying yes.
Yeah.
Now sometimes that really worked out well, and sometimes I thought maybe I shouldn't have said yes, right? But what that said to my boss, right, is that I'm willing to have a go. And sometimes I achieved really good things, and sometimes average, right? Mostly those opportunities came along, and people ask you to undertake things because they think you can do it. Number one, or they wouldn't ask you. But then you got to prove that you can do it, of course.
Yeah, because we learn from our experience. Yeah,
you
whether
do.
It's good or bad.
A lot of people dwell a little bit on what they don't achieve. I just let that go and just look at what I can achieve and what I have achieved. Right? So you can't live in the past.
Yeah, of course.
You got to live in the present and as much as you can into the future.
So, is there any educational system or any schools being built in Forest Lake for future?
Well, we're pretty much landlocked when it comes to school, new schools now. We just have to build or continue to upgrade what we have. Right now, we undertook what was called Schools of Tomorrow program. State government did back in the early 2000s, which rebuilt about four primary schools and a high school in my ward, right? And they were like brand new, right? They really did spent millions and millions of dollars doing that. And we've got to continue to do that with schools because new disciplines come in. Currently, the Glenalla High School, has a great program for tradespeople, right, as well as STEM. Right? And those two didn't exist 12 years ago, right? But they were built on campus to look after those two areas of education that kids need to look at,
education is important for our future kids, so our future leaders can be developed. But
education can't stand still. It's never stood still, over the centuries even. And we just have to get better and better. And of course, a lot of education can happen online now. Of course, that never existed even 10 years ago, right? When you think about it, So it's quite exciting, very challenging, I'm sure, for teachers and educators to keep up.
So all the young generations, we were talking about the education. So there are many students from different countries coming and studying in Australia, and then earning and giving their fees and sending the money back to their country. So what sort of a good advice or a message you want to give for them so they can be motivated, they can keep doing whatever they are doing, to motivate them?
That's a difficult one because I haven't experienced that myself, and I've only talked to a few people over the years that have done that. Right? From what I perceive, if you have the opportunity and your parents are going to pay for your education into Australia, which is a huge commitment,
Definitely is.
You just have to knuckle down and do the study, try to find a job to supplement some of those nice things you'd like to have here, because your parents can't send you everything, or very few can't send you everything. But I think, and to make really great friends, local friends, because who knows, you may want to come back at some stage and live here. And the thing about educating yourself here in an industry, whether it's engineering or whatever, science or whatever, is that it's a small world, really. And those friends that you make here, you're likely to come across in the rest of your life.
Even I have experienced that. It happens,
And my advice would be to do as much as to try to you got to socialize, but not too much. You got to study, but make really good friends. Don't make acquaintances, make friends. And keep in touch with those friends, which is really easy nowadays with social media and everything.
Of course.
And try to find a good part-time job, and do well in your studies, and honor your parents for all that investment they made in you.
So I totally agree with that. Councillor, what is your favorite sport? Do you like sports, or have you ever played sports?
Well, I played football, American gridiron football. And did track, shot put and discus, and a bit of running. Not too good at running, fast. No, I played. Those are the two sports I played growing up, right? But in Australia, the sport that I love watching now, and I'm not very good at it, is cricket.
Cricket, yeah, I love cricket as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being a Pakistani,
Mm.
I would like to ask that question. So when I say Pakistan, what comes in your mind?
Well, cricket,
Cricket.
soccer,
Yeah.
right? A country that has that is right next to India,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Much smaller.
Yeah.
And there have been conflicts over the years, of course, but two races, whether it be Indian or Pakistani, that really are really hard work and love their family, honor to their families, and try to do the right. It's not easy when you come to a Western country.
Yes.
To do that,
Yeah.
right? Because you have your peers are sort of, some of your peers, your local peers, are pulling you in other different directions, right? But when you say Pakistan, a country that's has a proud history, right?
Yeah.
And really done very well.
Who was your favorite leader or maybe your favorite cricketer in Pakistan? Do you know any?
Well, there's a famous cricketer, Imran
Imran Khan.
Imran Khan. See, and most Australians got to know Imran
Yeah.
as the captain. And a very well-spoken,
Yeah.
well-educated, come from a great family, no doubt.
Yeah, of course.
And got into politics,
Yeah.
right? Which
Of course, it's a politics. Yeah.
That's right. And he, everyone has a right to get into
Yes.
politics, and it's very challenging for politics,
Yeah.
for people, especially at that level of politics.
Yeah.
When you're prime minister,
Yeah.
right? But yes, that's probably the one person that stands out to me, because I saw him for like 30 years from just cricketing.
Yeah. He was a greatest cricketer and all rounder in his area.
Yeah.
Even they won the World Cup 1992.
Yeah.
And we recently heard he's also running into an election in Oxford University for
Is he?
councillor. Yeah. Yeah. In October.
Well, listen. He's got a wonderful life story.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want to sit down with him
Of course.
and talk for hours?
Yes.
Because he's met so many people.
Yeah.
In politics, out of politics. Who knows who he's met? I'm sure he's met kings and queens and all the rest of it. And he would have some great stories.
Yes, he really is. What sort of message do you want to give to the young generation, or also for the people who live in this area and who have been supporting you for years, who put trust and show you the love?
Well, thank you for that question. Listen, first thing first, what I tell the younger generation is that you live in probably the best country in the world to live in, right? It may not be the richest country in the world, right? Or have the most population in the world, but it's still the lucky country, which was coined decades and decades ago as to describe Australia. Because, and what I'll say to the young ones is that being that it's still a lucky country, there's many opportunities, whether it's here or overseas, in your education and or in business, right? And just take those opportunities when they come along, right? Travel as much as you can afford, because that just broadens your horizons.
Freshen your brand.
Yeah, and and I was terrible at it. Try to learn another language.
Yeah.
Right. I was really bad at Spanish.
Yeah.
I still remember every word I ever learned because it was hard. Right.
Yeah.
And I think learn another language so that you can travel much easier that way. And I think people respect people that have multiple languages. My local community, which is made up of an enormous diverse community of over 70 different languages and maybe about 50 different cultures. And what I've liked about the Inala area in Forest Lake, there's 6 suburbs that make up my ward.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is the fact that the diversity is so broad-reaching, right? It's just like working at the United Nations, because you're able to experience all those cultural differences between them. When I go off to a local school, I look out, from the stage into the faces of the kids. It's just incredible, the diversity. And but the other thing I liked about it is, and I've always felt that myself as well, Australians are very welcoming. If you do the right thing by them, they'll do the right thing by you. And if you do the wrong thing, they'll tell you. And this is what I liked about my community here, is that if you do the right thing, they'll do the right thing by you. They'll support you. They'll invite you into their homes. They'll invite you into some families' celebrations from time to time. But mostly those are cultural ones, of course, because it's a broad family. And I think I just appreciate all the support I get, and my team here in the office get as well. It's been a very enjoyable, it still is, and hopefully into the future a little bit, enjoyable job as councillor for the Forest Lake Ward. And I appreciate you taking the time to come along and let me rabbit on.
No worries. Thank you so much for giving us your precious
Yeah.
time. Me and my viewers really appreciate your precious time. And all right, viewers, thank you so much for watching the podcast. Please do let me know which one was your favorite part and where do you enjoy it a lot. So thank you so much for watching Every Person's Story. Keep watching. Until then, Allah.